Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's a road show Tuesday at Hail Varsity Radio. We're at Madonna Proactive here, 56th and Pine Lake Road, as we are set to talk Nebraska, Illinois, and find out all the great things going on at Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus. Their GM, Sam Kelly, will be with us here in a little bit. Mitch Sherman to get us going in hour one in about 20 minutes, and in hour two, Jacob Padilla, HailVarsity.com and magazine, will be with us, get his take on Nebraska football, and also some volleyball thoughts as Coach Cook and the crew get ready to roll. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Been a long-time member here at Madonna Proactive and really love it. Between the outdoor pool, the indoor pool, the weights, the different classes they have after school, and I should say workout child care. You can drop the kiddos off if you're going to go throw up, what is it, Elijah, 2 plates per? Are you a 4-plate guy? Is that it?
2 plates per side, that's what, 225? I mean, that's warm-up weight for me.
Good. At least one of us can rock warm-up weight. A lot to get to here when it comes to the College Football Alliance. A word from Trev Alberts here shortly. Plenty to dive into with the coordinators today with Nebraska football. Coach Chenander, Coach Lubick are knowing where they're going to go direction-wise with the cornerback spot open and opposite Cam Taylor-Britt. And who's going to be RB1, they know. We don't. We can guess. And plenty of insight and a new segment and feature on Tuesdays. We've had Tuesdays with Kaz. We're going to get, and if we're talking to Kaz, he's probably got I would bet a Corvette keychain at his home. And keys with Kaz's keys more appropriately. Get his take on Illinois and Nebraska. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. Can find us on Twitter at Schmidt_radio, at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbal. And the numbers to dial up, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. So, Elijah, let's dive in here. Interesting thoughts from Dennis Dodd with CBS Sportsline, and was asking, is this a must-win for Nebraska? The make-or-break part of this, and it's so intriguing, right? And we've had this conversation. We have highlighted and deemed so many ball games over the years as Nebraska's tried to climb back. CBS Sports pretty emphatic with their takes on just what Nebraska football is and where it's at. It's just another program. And right now, win-loss wise, they're just another program. The thing about Nebraska here is the opportunity, a chance to return to greatness or get back in the thick of things, and let's crawl before we walk, get in contention in November for a West Division championship. Let's get in contention and maybe play that first weekend of December. That's going to be uber important here in the near future for Nebraska. But Dennis Dodd opens up his headline. Nebraska opens with Scott Frost on notice, entering what feels like a must-win game for Illinois. I believe it is a must-win for Nebraska. If they don't, the season's not thrown away. But from a confidence standpoint, they've got to get out of Champaign alive with a victory. I 1,000% believe that. They can bounce back. It's just a much steeper hill to climb, much tougher deal for Nebraska if they stub their toe out of the gate. It puts them behind the 8 ball in the West race, all those things, but it doesn't eliminate them at all. It's just a season opener. But when it comes to hearts and minds and mood, it is absolutely something that you don't even want to get into with Nebraska fans and where they're feeling right now. They're hoping for some consistency. They're hoping for a turning of the corner, a postseason. Elijah, this is one of the games you got to get on a very difficult schedule. Bill Conley, right on the money, as he is pretty on top of college football, says this is the toughest schedule in college football. No excuses. Bring it on, take it on is my take on that. But you get one of these. If you're Nebraska, these are one of those games that you find a way to get it done.
Yeah, and I mean, Nebraska has top 25 talent on their roster when you look at recruiting classes. And I know recruiting rankings don't translate directly to results in the field, but you've been a top 25, top 30 recruiting class since Scott Frost has been here. So if you have 5 top 25 teams on the roster, so what? You should be able to get 1 or 2 of them. I mean, a tough schedule aside, Nebraska fans will be happy with a 6-6, which should be very doable in this schedule. I mean, I get it. There's 5 top 25 teams, but even if you lose to all of them, you're Nebraska. You're really in top 25 recruiting classes, and you should be able to beat teams that aren't inside the top 25. So at the end of the day, it's a tough schedule, yeah, but you still have the teams on your schedule that you can beat that can allow you to become bowl eligible. It's just a question of can you execute and can you get it done.
That's just it. I mean, show that you're not a sloppy football team, and that's the thing with Nebraska when you dive in and look at the record in the Big Ten, you look at the record overall, it's not like you've been annihilated and outclassed by every opponent, but there's been those hiccup games. 2018 Northwestern, you're up double digits, you don't close. Colorado twice, right? And then we go back to last year, right on the heels of a big-time win against a talented Penn State team. You lay an egg and do something else to the bed, right, against Illinois, who came in as almost a 3-touchdown underdog, and they annihilate you by 17, and that was an oh-no moment, an oh-no game. You have a chance to go, oh, yes, if you're a Nebraska football fan, if the Big Red get out of shape. So let's dive into how that can happen, specifically who can make it happen, and talk about where Nebraska's at running back. So, Elijah, if you're calling your shot, who's going to be RB1? Who's getting the first carry on Saturday for Nebraska? I'm gonna jump in first. I look at Stepp as your thumper. I look at Morrison as your slasher, and I look at Gabe Ervin as the guy that can kind of do both. He's got a little giddy up to him. He can also get downhill, but birdies have told us that Ervin's looked good with some home run type ability as a guy that can take a handoff and go 60 with everything being blocked, and there's a hole for him to go do it. I think you get a good combo in a guy like Savion Morrison. I think he's closed well in camp. That's just my uneducated 2 cents, just trying to read some tea leaves. And if I'm picking who my RB1 is, who do I think's getting that first carry, I think it's going to be Savion Morrison on Saturday. You buy that or you going somewhere else?
See, all through fall camp, I have been on the Marquis Stepp has the most experience. He's the guy that looks the part.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
It makes a lot of sense, but as time goes on in fall camp, I think there's been way too much smoke about Gabe Ervin for there to not be fire. I mean, we've talked about it before. The Nebraska running backs who have had success in the past 10, 20 years have been guys that have made a difference their freshman year. And there's way too much smoke about Gabe Ervin for me to not think that he's at least going to have a part to play. Do I know if he's going to be the first guy off the field? No, I don't, but that is my bet. I bet it's Gabe Ervin. Marquis Stepp, for as much as we heard about him at the beginning of fall camp, I feel like I haven't heard his name as much in the past week and a half, so I'm not sure if that means that the coaching staff doesn't want to let too much get out to the media about their guy, but it doesn't seem like that to me. It seems like this is still a dead heat race at running back, and to me, it's Gabe Ervin is the guy that he's been turning heads. I think he's the guy that the coaching staff gives a shot come the first series. But let's be honest, I think Stepp, Morrison, and Gabe Ervin are all going to get a series of their own in the first half to kind of show the coaching staff what they got, because it still sounds like it's a close race.
No, I think you're right on, and it just makes more sense to go with a guy like Stepp because he's played against Notre Dame. He's played in some big games. He's been to this rodeo before. So there should be a calming, right, or at least a confidence level because of his experience level. But what's going to help your offense go? This game is going to be won on Saturday based on how your offensive line and defensive line plays. This game's going to be won by continuing to sledgehammer against the Illinois defensive line. This game's going to be won by your defensive line continuing to stay fresh. They are deeper, and the old make them one-dimensional. This game is going to be won by making Peters beat you throwing the football. And I don't know that the guy's capable of doing that. So you're going to line up and load up to stop the Illinois run game, and you've got 1,000 bodies you can keep throwing at that defensive line. If you're Coach Tony Tuioti, he mentioned that today post-practice about, we're going to rotate heavy 1 through 3 quarters, and then we're going to go with who's hot in the fourth. And there is reinforcements. There's cavalry to get it done on that defensive line, and you just got to keep hammering away if you're Nebraska on the offensive line. Who's going to help that O-line in the run game? And I think Stepp is logical, but I think maybe they go offhand with you're not wrong by what you're hearing and feeling about an Irvin, but I think Morrison could be that combo of both where you get the power, you get the slasher, and I think Morrison might be the guy we hear about his upside. We've talked to Spencer Tillman. We know what Derek Peterson's done when it comes to coverage of Morrison being both Oklahoma guys. And if there's a glimmer or a sliver of Adrian Peterson in Morrison, and I'm sorry to go there this soon, right? But it's why not see if that can create some big plays in the run game for you, also catching the football. I don't know how much of Adrian you're going to get, but he's also a weapon that could cause problems for that Illini defense. So do we go steak and a beer for who gets the first carry at running back? Not first carry of the game, but first carry. Do we dive there, or are we gonna double up and not only go with the wager of the game, but throwing a little fun here with the running back?
I like the idea. If you want to say Savion, I'll go with Gabe Irvin. I know you're not here with me, but I'll shake on that.
Okay, we'll just shake virtually here. Now, watch. All bets are off. It's kind of like two teams with COVID, right? It's a no contest. Nobody gets the L if it's a Yant carry. Okay.
Well, and I assume it's a push if Stepp gets as well. If Stepp gets the first carry, I think that wouldn't be the biggest shock.
That's fair.
Yeah. So if it's Savion, you get the steak and a beer. If it's Gabe Irvin, I get the steak and a beer. If it's anyone else, it's a no bet.
All right, let's hear from Coach Lubick here, cut 5, on the running back position. What does Nebraska's OC think about Saturday, and who's carrying the mail?
You got to have multiple guys just from the beating those guys take, and you never know what's going to happen in a game. But we do feel like we've closed in on one. We're not releasing any depth charge right now, but we want to have one guy kind of take the bulk of the load. And the other thing, sometimes the game determines that. If a guy gets in there, is running really well and breaking tackles and doing a good job, that guy's going to stay in there. And so, but at the same time, you got to be smart enough to have, if it's to the point where it's a 10-play drive and he's not as efficient or he's a little bit tired, we need to get another guy in there, and we feel like we have capable backups to do that.
So that's no answer. That's no answer on who's going to be carrying the football. But the best part of it is they've got options. Elijah, we're here at Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal back at our ESPN studios in Lincoln and 56th and Pine Lake, where we are at. Wonderful facility. I don't need to go to the steam room today. I can just step outside and just melt, but I could go take a dip in the pool here. I'm not quick enough to do that between commercial breaks. We'll have the general manager, Sam Kelly, with us here in about 20 minutes. Mitch Sherman is just around the corner from the Athletic. Coach Rick Kaczenski next hour. So one more thought here from Coach Lubick. We heard the running back options. Let's get Lubick's take on the offensive line. They are vital. They are talented. I don't know how healthy they are at the left side, but they've got bodies to pick. And more from Lubick here on the O-line.
Well, improvement. We feel like we have a lot of depth there. We lost 2 good players last year, and but we also played a lot of young guys last year too, which was good. And so those guys have all, took it up a notch. We think we have great leadership with, Cam Jurgens, because as a unit, specifically the offensive line, you're always as good as your leaders. But when you have a proven center that's practicing harder than anyone on our team, or as hard, that rubs off on everybody else. So I think that's going to show. And I think our young players, again, have just been getting a little bit better each day.
That is Matt Lubick. We'll have more from the offensive coordinator from Nebraska, Matt Lubick, and Coach Chenander. He'll share some thoughts on that race for the quarterback spot opposite Cam Taylor-Britt. 2 names. How's that tug-of-war going with Newsom and Clark? We are here at Madonna Proactive, winding down this first segment. And Mitch Sherman in the on-deck circle as he'll talk some Big Red football with us. The Illini, the Huskers, Saturday awaits big noon kickoff. We're on the road in Champaign Friday and Saturday, and we'll have Real Red reaction for you following. Hail Varsity continues, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Back here with you, it's Hail Varsity Radio Road Show Tuesday. We're here at Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus, 56th and Pine Lake Road, as no excuse for me today or tonight. Once the show's over, it is time to go crank out some reps. Now, Elijah's got that warm-up weight at 225. Can neither confirm nor deny that I'll make that happen. Let's talk Nebraska, Illinois. We say hi to Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. You find Mitch on Twitter at Mitch Sherman. Mitch, game week, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm excited that football's here. It's ready to go. We'll dive into the alliance with the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the ACC in a little bit, but want to get your thoughts here on Nebraska and Illinois on Saturday. And when we look at this ball game here with Nebraska, and I want to kind of go into its magnitude, and we talked about the make or break part of it. Are you leaning more make or break here? If the result's a loss on Sunday, or even if it's a win, if Nebraska gets the job done on the road, how are you viewing Saturday's ball game, its magnitude, and then its influence on the rest of the year?
From the thoughts that I've had the majority of this offseason, that the magnitude is huge. It's a big game. It gives Nebraska an opportunity, if it wins, to be 3-0 when it goes to Oklahoma. It would be a shock if Nebraska wins this one and then loses one of the next 2 at home. So that would be the first 3-game winning streak in Scott Frost's time, and would signify real progress and momentum and put Nebraska in a good spot coming out of that OU game, regardless of what happens. I mean, that's an opportunity to go and play a great team, and in order to get there and be in good shape, you got to win this one on Saturday. This is the big one of the first 3, and has, of course, added significance because it's not just a conference game, but a division game, and we know what happened last year when Illinois came to Nebraska. So first-year coaching staff for the Illini, they're an experienced team. They're strong up front in the trenches, but there's not a built-in reason. There's no reason for Nebraska to expect anything but to be 1-0 on Saturday night.
Mitch Sherman's with us from The Athletic, Hail Varsity Radio, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, you do an awesome job reporting. We love your commentary and thoughts and analysis with Nebraska, have for years. And what's your read, your take on the fan base right now? I think my thought is they need something good to happen. They're waiting for something good to happen, and their patience is well. They're frustrated right now. Social media is always very interesting. A thought from you here about the fan base right now, and what's the feedback been like for you with things?
Yeah, it's a little edgy right now. I think there's a sense of some excitement because there's a game here this week, and maybe that has people, more anxious. Social media is a different animal, and it's not representative. I don't think of. I know it's not representative of how people are in general. I mean, rarely do you ever hear the comments in person that you receive on social media, but that's been the case for a long time and holds true in more than just sports writing. But it's time for a game, and that's about the only way to look at it. That people are going to come to all kinds of different conclusions based on comments that are made or comments that are not made on social media. So you asked me about the fan base, and Nebraska fan base is always fantastic. That's Nebraska fans are passionate. They love their team. They live and die with it, and they feel the pain and all of the joy. In more deeply than just about any place in the country. There are a few places like Nebraska, but it's a rare breed of passion. So we see that in lots of different ways, and around town you see it, and sometimes it manifests in unusual ways on social media. Got a little of that this week.
Mitch Sherman's with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Mitch, I just want to ask, what do you think it's going to take this season to appease the fans? Like, what performances do the Huskers have to put in? Will a win against Illinois do that, or is it going to take even more convincing wins throughout the year?
I just think the fans want to see Nebraska play good football. It's not about one win. No, that's not going to all of a sudden, turn people into believers and across the board. They want to see Nebraska play consistent, good, smart, sound football. And sometimes I don't even think that's gonna be gauged by a win or a loss. This week, yes. This week they need to win. They need to win because it's been a long off season and it's been a long 19, 20 months. So it's got to happen. But over the course of the long haul, people want to see Nebraska do the little things right. Not if they lose games, it's one thing. If the losses are because of self-inflicted mistakes, I think that's where the frustration comes in, and it's what's bothered Nebraska fans so much in recent years.
Mitch Sherman's with us, talking Nebraska, Illinois, and big picture for the season. At Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, let's get into the game here. Nebraska wins if ... and flip it around. How's Illinois get the Bielema era off to a flying start? What do they got to do?
Okay, well, I think Nebraska wins if it can get Illinois off balance on the defensive side. And I hate to always bring it back to Nebraska's offense because I think this is a year where the defense is going to have to win Nebraska some football games. But Illinois' strength is on the defensive side, and Nebraska, it's not going to be a 10-7 game. There's going to be some points scored, I would expect. What can Nebraska do in this game to get Illinois off balance and then set up that running game? And it'll be interesting to see what Scott Frost and Matt Lubick's strategy is coming out of the gates. Illinois has been opportunistic. Certainly Jake Hansen, the senior linebacker, his 14 takeaways over the past 2 years lead the nation. That's a little scary for Nebraska, which has been turnover prone and was turnover prone last year in that game against Illinois. You remember the first play of the game was a turnover. Mm-hmm. So does Nebraska get conservative and try to ease into its offense and loosen Illinois up that way, or do they come out throwing the ball around to set up the run? I think the best way for Nebraska to move the ball in this game is to use the pass to set up the run. But that requires a certain amount of risk, and I don't know how they'll feel about that when one of their stated goals is to win the turnover battle at all costs. So that'll be something that's interesting to watch. And if Nebraska does come out and throw the ball well at the beginning, that's a really good sign, because I think that means that the running lanes are going to be there later in the game. For Illinois, I'll speak to this from kind of a Nebraska perspective. And Illinois, to win this game, must do some of the things that it did a year ago when it was opportunistic. When balls were on the turf last year in Lincoln, the Illini defenders were jumping on those balls. And when there were holes to run in against the Nebraska defense, Illinois was hitting those holes hard. And Brandon Peters, we know he's a multi-dimensional, talented quarterback who can do it with his arm and with his legs. So if Illinois is hitting on those cylinders, then it has a chance to not just be in this game for 4 quarters, but to pull it out in the end.
What's the atmosphere going to be like? I know I saw a little bit of Coach Bielema's presser, and he's trying to get as many students and fans as possible. I know it's going to be refreshing because it'll be not last year, but overall, how hostile do you think it'll be for Nebraska?
Yeah, Illinois can get pretty hostile. It's not typically like that. When Nebraska was there a couple years ago, there were a lot of empty seats, and then that game got into the second half. Illinois was leading at halftime. It got into the second half. Nebraska came back and went up, but it was close again in the fourth quarter, and there were more people in the stadium in the second half of that game than there were early on. Of course, it was a night game, and it cooled off. But it's going to be hot out there on Saturday. I think it's going to be a good environment. It's hard to imagine that it won't be when it's the first time for fans to come back in more than a year, and you have the first-year coach who's a big name, and there's excitement around Brett Bielema. So I think they're going to have a lot of people there, and this is fans like this. You smell blood in the water a little bit. There's people. Everybody in the Big Ten knows that Nebraska is on a little bit of shaky ground and needs this thing probably more than Illinois needs it. So they're going to want to come out there and rattle the Huskers, get in their heads, and help Illinois have a chance to win it. So I expect it's going to be a hostile environment by Illinois standards for sure.
Mitch Sherman with The Athletic, Hail Varsity Radio, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, couple of minutes here. Let's go to the Alliance. And your takeaway here with the 3 commissioners not signing anything but kind of a handshake deal. And overall, how does this affect Nebraska? What's your takeaway? How can this be good for the Big Red?
Yeah, the handshake thing's a little puzzling. It's almost like they're kind of gun shy and don't necessarily want to enter into anything that one of the 3 can't get out of if something better comes along. But I don't think it'll fall apart. Certainly not right away. I think it's good for these leagues to create some stability. To counter the move that the SEC made in bringing Texas and Oklahoma on board. That was such a power play and such an important move for the short and long-term future of that conference and how it's impactful. It is impactful for all of college sports, all of college football for sure. So I think it was imperative that the Big Ten did something in response to that, and this is it. It's a different kind of move. One, because it's semi, it has this handshake agreement element, and then 2, because it doesn't involve teams moving leagues. It's just more of as the name suggests, an alliance. For Nebraska, it can be good. It can be great for Nebraska to strike up some rivalries with programs in the ACC that historically have played big games against the Huskers. I mean, I'd like to see Nebraska have a home-and-home with Florida State as a result of this thing, or Miami, or, hey, how about a series against North Carolina upcoming? There's lots of venues that I think Nebraska fans would like to visit in the ACC, and then revisit some in the Pac-12. Nebraska has played most of these schools in the Pac-12 at some point in the last couple of decades. Let's get the Huskers to Oregon. Let's get them to, again. Let's get them to Washington again, USC, UCLA. All of those things have happened. Arizona State has happened before. I'm ready for a Nebraska-Stanford home and home. If that's the first one that they get going with this alliance in a few years, sign me up. I'm always game for a trip to Palo Alto.
Mitch Sherman with The Athletic. Mitch, we'll see you in Champaign. Thanks for the time today, bud.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris. See you there.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery Roadshow out here at Madonna Proactive, Therapy Plus, 56th and Pine Lake Road. And we are StreamYarding right now, and this will be, you can check it out on our socials, obviously, but also you can find it on the ESPN Lincoln Facebook. We'll also post on Twitter. The GM here of Madonna Proactive is Sam Kelly. Sam was so awesome in putting a workout program together for me, but there's so much going on. Sam, it's awesome to see you. Long time coming to get back here in person here at Madonna Proactive. How have you been?
Good. It is nice to finally get some of this normalcy back in order. Just being able to meet with people and chat. I'm excited to hear about your progress too, because it sounds like you've made quite a lot of progress too.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Just Sam runs this incredible facility, and Sam, you've also done a lot of work as a personal trainer, and you've put time and effort and lots of sweat in yourself to bettering so many of the patrons here at Madonna Proactive. And your workout plan for me was good. This was back in the fall, I think, right before 2020.
Yep.
We were here, and then even maybe after winter where, I've got a spare tire going. I got a little bit of love still, but it's a situation where, here's some work for you to do, Chris. Here's some work, not only core training, but also the free weights, the swimming, and this plan's been great. It's up to me to execute, but Sam put it into action, and I can't thank you enough. I mean, I feel good.
Good. You look great, too. And got the summer
wonderful.
tan
Elijah, did you hear that? I look wonderful. I look wonderful. Well, that's the thing. Once I'm done working out, I can go sit out back at your pool.
There we go. Get the
and
tan
soak
on.
up the sun. Soak up the sun. But there's so many different facility options here between free weights, the track, your classes. Kind of lay it out for folks if they're looking for a place to join or at least visit.
And, Proactive's really a one-stop shop. You can get a personal trainer that, hey, maybe you want just a program set up, or maybe you meet with them on a weekly basis. It's really up to the individual. We've got classes, all the amenities. So like you talked about, the pool, sauna, steam room, whirlpool, got all of those amenities too. So it's really everything that you would find at a gym, including the equipment, the personnel, great staff, but then we have those extra services too, like more of the medical side. So if you do need a physical therapist, we've got that on site too. So if you have those aches and pains, we can help you navigate through whatever it may be.
Yeah, if you're into massages, as far as some treatment or just some relaxation, just to our left is a place to get signed up and do the massage therapy thing. And you also have an amazing basketball court, but also the rage is pickleball.
It is.
Are you undefeated still in pickleball?
I don't know about that. I need to get back into the swing of things, pun intended.
Okay. So it's been a little hiatus here on pickleball, but the word around Madonna Proactive was, don't take Sam on in pickleball because you're just going to roll them.
I've got a few tricks up my sleeve.
Okay.
Put that agility to the test, I guess.
Well, the endurance, right? The backhand down the line. The basketball hoop, but no, I mean the basketball is great, but I just think of being able to come here also during the pandemic. You guys did such an amazing job of adapting, adjusting, and then everyone felt safe, everyone felt secure, and everything was so spaced out. You put a lot of work in.
Well, thanks for mentioning that, because it was, and I'm glad that it was received well too, and our members really received it well, because safety is our top priority, and especially as things elevate and things change in the community, we have those in place that we can fall back to. So whether it's masking, spacing equipment out, having people screened if needed, we have those options.
Well, touch on that, because Sam Kelly's with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, Roadshow, Madonna Proactive, Therapy Plus, 56th and Pine Lake in Lincoln. You have folks here. Not only is there the sanitation stations where you can get your hands figured out, but every time I came in, and it was no problem at all, you had a digital setup to screen temperature, and it wasn't invasive. It was just it was as easy as just kind of running your key to check in.
Yep, and we have those all throughout too, or the hand sanitation anyway. We've definitely ramped that up, and we did have the screening in place, and that was really nice because you could just scan your key fob and then get your temp, answer a few questions, and you're on your way. So we've got that in our back pocket should things escalate.
Sure.
But luckily we've been able to alleviate a lot of those COVID restrictions now that things have relaxed. But we'll see what the fall brings.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, we'll see what the fall brings, but you'll be prepared, and folks will still be able to get their exercise, their workout, their classes in here at Madonna Proactive. Sam Kelly with us here on Side Hail Varsity Radio, Madonna Proactive. A thought here on some classes or some programs that are going to be happening this fall. I know the pool's still alive and well, and it feels so good when you go, especially as hot and humid as it is outside, but the temp allegedly will turn to fall. So what are some options? What are some things folks can maybe get into this fall when it comes to exercise?
Great. Yeah. So we do still have a summer option available. So our outdoor pool stays open until the end of September, the first part of October. Good. So you can still hop in our summer membership special, which you can do 1 month. So we do have that option. And then coming up this fall, we'll have a really attractive membership joining special. And then we have all of our events. So maybe it's a yoga workshop or a BOSU workshop to figure out how to use some of the equipment that we have around the facility. We do have some specialized classes too, focusing on different yoga practices. So if you want to dive into yoga a little bit more or that recovery side, we've got those options too.
Yeah, you have those, and then there's still spinning, cycling.
Yep. Yoga, regular group fitness classes, so like HIIT, more of that boot campish style. We've got those, weights, and we even have a whole lot of water classes too.
Oh, good.
Which you'd be surprised. Holy cow!
Oh, it's packed.
My butt. Yeah. Well, and when you're in there too, you're like, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So don't let those ladies fool you in some of the aquatics classes.
Well, and tell me about and I started walking the aqua track. That current's fierce.
It is. Yep. So you can walk with it or you can walk against it. And we even did that for Marathon Training Group. That was a way that they could still get in their high intensity interval training, but not as much damage to their joints. Using that buoyancy of the water to really help with their performance. So lots of fun amenities.
Sam Kelly, General Manager here, Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus, 56th and Pine Lake. Sam, if folks want to get in touch with you or one of the wonderful trainers here and visit for membership possibility, just get the grand tour, where do they need to go? Where do they need to log on? How do they get a hold?
Yep. So you can go to our website, and there's a Find Out More page, too, that you can fill out some information, and our membership team will reach out to you. You can also just call the front 0 about what we have available. Passes.
Well, this is awesome. Again, I've been at Madonna for a number of years. Love it. Love the facility. Love the program. And Sam's been great working with me, and she can help you out as well. And Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus, 56th and Pine Lake, where they're at. And they are set up with all you need here when it comes to health and safety, but also getting your health back where you want. Sam, it's awesome to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thanks so much for spending time. Coming up, we'll get locked in with some volleyball thoughts. Jacob Padilla, the Huskers, and Coach Cook ready to go for another title, and Husker football against the Illini. That's on the way. Rick Kaczenski next up to Hour 2 on Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back here one final time this hour. It's Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow, Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, Connor Clark in studio. And there's not too much hazing, and I know hazing's kind of a naughty word here in 2021, but Elijah, are you treating Connor okay?
I believe so. He seems to be having a good time in here. I think he's probably still swimming a little bit. I know my first day getting trained up doing the show, my mind was swimming a little bit, but he is definitely picking up on things faster than I was.
Now, did you show him the shock collar?
I was trying to keep that a secret from him. I know you have your controls with you out at Madonna. He can't see that where I'm wearing it right now, but
I didn't bring him with. As he's running out the door. But
well, the worst part is
we'll check in with Jacob Padilla.
The worst part's the electric gate outside the door to keep me in the studio all night.
Yeah, it's some of the hazing that Dolman and Sharpie and Baylor put me through. I'm just paying it forward. So let's talk Illinois here. Let's hear from Coach Chinander. And we're all wondering, RB1, how about CB2? And more from Coach Chinander here on that race for the second corner. You'll see a lot of corners rotate through, Coach Fish says. But right now, some guys got to take that head job and run with it. Here is Coach Chinander.
To be honest with you, you have to look at a whole body of work. But, one guy kind of pulled out, and then the other guy closed the gap, and then the other guy pulled out, and then the other guy closed the gap. So I know it sounds like we're holding something back, but that thing is pretty tight right now.
Yeah, we definitely have some delay going. Okay, we still good, Elijah? Let's just talk about connection for a second here. We still together?
Oh yeah, we're definitely still together. You sound loud and clear. I think you're just hearing what's coming from me and what's coming from the station about 3 seconds after what's going out. So we have a little delay, but the show still sounds good. We're still rolling through.
Okay, wonderful. Let's get some thoughts more from Chinander here on the make or break side. We started off with it. Here's what the DC has to say.
To me, it's make or break. Just because it's the next game. That's the most important game. The next one always. It's a very important game, obviously a conference game, so you put a lot of emphasis on it, but I don't think make or break can't be the whole season riding on one game. It's always the most important game because it's the next one. Once we get done with this game, the next game will be the most important. So it's a very, very important game. A lot of stress has been put on this game throughout the the preseason and those types of things. But make or break, I think, is probably the wrong word.
So last thought here as we hear about the Illinois offense. If time, let's get in on Chinander, what he's expecting from the Illini.
Oh, I'm fired up for those guys, especially some guys that have been in the program and it means a lot to them, and/or guys that are.
That was the wrong cut. I apologize.
But that was the black shirts.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay. We'll hear more from Coach Chinander next hour, and on the way, Rick Kaczenski will join us, defensive line coach extraordinaire for Nebraska and Iowa back in the day, and Jacob Padilla in the on-deck circle. Husker football, his thoughts on the Illini, the Big Red, and Husker volleyball. Hour 2 from Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus were presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Welcome to it. It's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery here at Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus, 56th and Pine Lake in Lincoln. Rick Kaczenski, Kaz's Keys coming up here in about 25 minutes. Some emails to get into as well. We'll try and get that handled today or carry over to tomorrow. A lot of football to talk and some volleyball. We welcome in with HailVarsity.com and magazine, Jacob Padilla at Jacob Padilla _ on Twitter's where you find him. Jacob, how's your Tuesday? What's up, man?
Hey, it's first game week Tuesday. Just a lot of work today. Got to hear from. We're doubling up here, having offense and defense for post practice. So Tuesdays are going to be pretty busy moving forward.
No, that's awesome. And you know what? Doesn't it feel good to say, hey, it's game week, Jacob? We've been waiting forever to have that become a reality. And, I want to get your take here on on today, and just a couple of nuggets you took out between the coordinators or some players or some of the other assistants. But what was your biggest impression? What'd you take with you from the stadium today?
Yeah, it seems like obviously they've got no choice, but we're getting close kind of on the position battles that are still kind of ongoing. The biggest ones are obviously corner and running back, and it sounds like they've got kind of things figured out at running back, at least how they want to go into this first game. They just don't want to tell us. And quarterback might be still up for grabs even, and we might see both guys kind of rotating in depending on, I guess, how these last few days of practice go. So that certainly, we're kind of getting there. We didn't get a depth chart this week, so we're still, I think we know a lot of them. The black shirts on defense kind of reinforce some of that, but there's still kind of that battle at cornerback is ongoing, again, evidenced by the fact that there was only one corner with a black shirt on Monday.
Jacob, a thought from you on running back. Who do you think gets that first carry? I was talking with Elijah about it. I've kind of hedged myself into the Morrison camp. Elijah's saying, you know what, I think it's absolutely going to be the phenom from California. And, it's Irvin's carry to be had. Where are you at, man? Who are you thinking gets that first carry?
Yeah, I think they got it down. I think Morrison and Irvin are kind of the guys that took the lead in there. Steph, I think, will get carries. He'll be part of that. But it seems like it's going to be those two. And I guess just the guy that's been most consistent throughout the entire that we've heard about. We've had different guys have had different stretches where we've heard a lot about them. But I think we very well could see the true freshman, Gabe Irvin Jr., there getting the first carry, unless, of course, it's a quarterback carry.
Jacob, I just wanted to ask you about a guy named Ramir Johnson. He's been around for a while in this program, but it doesn't sound like he's in the race to be a starting back. What do you think his outlook is within this Huskers team? I mean, is he going to find ways to get involved on special teams, or is he just going to be a guy who's going to be buried on the bench this season?
Yeah, Ramir is a guy that has done a little bit of kick returning. He hasn't been super successful in that role. It just seems like kind of Marvin Scott III and Ramir Johnson are two guys that the offensive coaches have made sure to mention when they've talked about the battle, but they're always kind of fourth and fifth in some order. So I think for the short term, it's probably going to be those first three guys that we talked about, and then Scott and Johnson are kind of battling for the next opportunity. And you never know with injuries what could pop up. If guys could struggle, they might get somebody else might get a chance to step in there and earn something. But right now, I don't anticipate him being a huge part of what they're going to do. But you never know how things are going to play out.
Jacob Padilla is with us, HailVarsity.com and magazine at Jacob Padilla _ on Twitter's where you follow and find him. Great coverage of hoops and volleyball, and we're talking Big Red football now as Jacob at post-practice today. Let's go over to the defensive side in just a second. But overall, what's Nebraska's game plan? What's Nebraska's approach? What do you think they do Saturday offensively?
Well, hopefully execute. I think that's kind of the name of the game. Is they're just going to have to they're going to have to block well. We'll see kind of with that offensive line, with Turner Corcoran's status, what they're looking like up there. It's still a little bit of a question, but and kind of how the wide receivers kind of work out there and who gets the bulk of the reps there and what that connection is like with Adrian Martinez. But you're going to come out, they're going to try to run the ball, and I think that's going to be a huge key for this year is whether or not they can get that halfback running attack going. And whoever it is back there, whatever the combination is, can it be something that they can rely on as opposed to having to fall back to the quarterback run game to get any kind of ground? It seemed like last year they just were hesitant to really commit to getting Dedrick Mills going, just in part because the early returns weren't great a lot of time. And you can't run for 2-3 yards 3 straight times every single time down. You're going to have some success in there. So they're going to have to start there, I think, with that. Try to kind of move some guys up front, get Irvin, get Morrison some carries, try to kind of take control that way, and then the quarterback, you get some scrambles out of there, you get some play action stuff, some RPO stuff, and then you can start getting those tight ends and the wide receivers involved. So it's going to start with the running game. That's kind of how it works here at Nebraska and within Scott Frost's offense, and they're going to have more success with those running backs than they have in the last couple of years, I think.
Jacob, last thought to kind of build on that answer with the running and the offensive side. Nebraska's averaged 200 yards. They've been second in the Big Ten. On paper, they're a good running team. Do you think it's been just a matter of trust with running the football when the other teams knows that they want to run the football? Has that been the issue, running it when they have to and being able to run it when they have to? Has that been the biggest hurdle?
Well, a lot of it, they were very good in the quarterback running game, and that's the one thing they've had to keep going back to that, because it is the one run that they can feel confident in, that they know is going to produce for them. And the problem with that is you've got the injury risk for Adrian Martinez, and you've got the increased risk of fumbles. So I think that's something that they can do. It's not something that they want to build a running game off of, and they've had to do too much of that the last couple of years. I mean, Adrian Martinez continues to lead them in rushing, which isn't what you want if things are working the way that Scott Frost wants them to. Obviously, the quarterback running game is a huge part of the offense, but you want that to be more of the threat than kind of what you're relying on. And that's been that hasn't been the case the last couple of years. They've had to kind of lean on the quarterback draw, quarterback power running game much more than I think they want to. So Dedrick Mills did have had some really good stretches last year, and that overall kind of boosted his yards per carry average up to where it should have been, but he was kind of a little bit more boom or bust than you would have liked, and there were games where he went off. But there were more games, I think it was about 2-1, where he was below 4 yards per carry. It's just he kind of salvaged his overall average because the other games were so successful. So, and then the young guys behind him, none of them really kind of found traction. So that's kind of where it is. It's overall the running game, the numbers look good, and they definitely got better last year with kind of Greg Austin stepping in as kind of the run game coordinator, putting more emphasis on that. They did bump up the yards per carry average by 3 to 4 tenths of per carry. So that was a significant improvement. They were second in the Big Ten. So that's the progress that you like to see. Now they just need to continue it forward and hopefully have the running backs take on a larger part of that.
Jacob, what's we talk about identity for the offense. What's this defense going to be known for, and what is paramount for Saturday? What's the defense got to be great at doing on Saturday?
It's got to start with in the trenches and stopping the run. And you look at the way this defense is built, yes, you've got some veteran defensive backs, but they got a lot of guys up front, a lot of big bodies up front. I don't know. I think that the pass rush is still a question. You've got some talented linebackers back there, especially on the inside. I think those guys will be able to make some plays, but I think the defense is going to be slanted more towards stopping the run, which is what you need to have in the Big Ten. You've got to be able to hold up on 3rd and long, and that's an area where they have struggled a bit, and I think they improved down the stretch last year. But ultimately, everything starts up front. And with we're hearing rave reviews about Damian Daniels and the way he's transformed his body and the way he's playing right now. Tony Tuioti talked today, and he really likes his group and said he's got about 5-6 guys. Again, that's kind of the same number he's been telling us since spring ball. But he's got a really good collection there that guys are he's going to roll guys in and out. And then once they get to the fourth quarter, the guys who are playing best are going to be the ones that are out there. And they've got the versatility to go however many different guys up front that they want. They can play. We saw some last year where they were playing 2 down linemen with the defensive end to kind of get a little bit more speed out there. They could also go the other way and play some more 4-man front. They've got the depth on the defensive line to do that, and then hopefully kind of keep those linebackers free. I really do feel like if Nick Henrich and Luke Reimer can stay healthy, and the defensive line can do their job up front, those guys can go wreak havoc in the run game. So I think that's kind of where it's going to start for this team, is really in the front seven, with these guys getting bigger, stronger, more experienced. Hopefully the attention detail will continue to improve. I think we've seen that on the defensive side of the ball consistently under Eric Shenander, where they've gotten better year to year. So that's where it's got to start, and then you can hopefully play off that and have some success in the passing game as well.
Jacob, when you're looking at that front seven, the big question all offseason has been, is Nebraska going to be able to develop a pass rusher? And we maybe got clued in a little bit when the black shirts were awarded yesterday, when Caleb Tanner got his. Maybe he's the guy the Husker coaching staff is looking at being able to make a difference rushing the passer. Is that the same read you're getting, or do you have any breakout candidates for maybe a guy who can get after the quarterback?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I still like JoJo Domann as a pass rusher. Last year, they kind of transitioned him more into where he hardly ever rushed a quarterback. He was most of the time on passing downs. He was a guy dropping back as kind of that nickel cover guy, playing pass coverage as opposed to getting after the quarterback. I feel like if they like those cornerbacks that they've got, maybe they could transition to more getting both Braxton Clark and Quinton Newsome out there, in addition to Cam Taylor, and maybe that would free up JoJo Domann to get after the quarterback a little bit more. I feel like that's something they've got in their pocket. I don't know that it's something they want to rely on, but on the other side there, I think Caleb Tanner, I think that's the hope, is at this point of his career, he's been here long enough now that this is kind of the year that he's got to really flash and have the physical tools kind of make a difference now. He's one of the fastest linebackers they've got. He's got to show some of those pass rushing chops that they envisioned when they recruited him. And I think Phildarius Payne is a guy that'll be in that mix as well. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they handle the snaps at the kind of the outside linebacker spots with both Garrett Nelson and Caleb Tanner as the main guys there, and then again, they might go smaller up front and get another one of those outside backers out there and have two of those guys playing alongside JoJo Domann, depending on kind of what the other team is throwing at them. So I don't know that they're going to have a guy that's getting 7-8 sacks off the edge, but if they can get 3, 4, 5 out of one guy and then 3, 4 out of another guy, and just kind of be consistent there with providing some pressure. And part of that starts with the defensive line kind of doing their job and occupying blockers up front. Maybe if they do play a couple more guys up front than they did last year, maybe that frees up Ben Stilley to be a bigger part of the pass rush as opposed to the guy that's kind of collapsing the line, where he played a lot more on the interior last year. So they've got a lot of options. I don't know that they have any one dominant pass rushing type that's going to emerge and even be as productive as Cleo Davis was his last year in Lincoln, where you get to 8 sacks or so. But they've got a lot of different options. It's just a matter of can these guys kind of step up and be consistent. And I think that's probably the biggest question mark on the defense right now, as far as if you're looking for this group to take the next step. Because obviously they were solid in a lot of areas last year, but I feel like that's kind of the one area where if you can make big strides in this area, you'll be able to kind of go from a good, solid defense to a very good defense that helps you win games.
Jacob, got about a minute or a little less, but just on outlook real quick with volleyball this weekend, how loaded can this team be?
Yeah, we're gonna learn a lot, I think, this week, considering it sounds like Nicklin Haynes is going to be out, and John Cook is still kind of considering what he wants to do, both at center and at other positions. It just, I think, the way he's talked, this freshman class is everything that he expected it to be, because they continue to push the upperclassmen for playing time. And we saw that in the red-white, where he was kind of rotating players back and forth between the two teams. It wasn't a case where you had the starters on one side, the reserves on the other. It was constantly changing. And I think that's where they are at as a team, because those freshmen are good enough to play right now. Now Crooks just has to go out there and figure out, all right, who are my best 6, 7 players here? What is my best lineup going to be? And I don't think he has those answers yet, which is why it's important that they have the non-conference this year whereas last year they had to dive right into the Big Ten play because that's all they had. So this is a big weekend. Just kind of let some freshmen. I think we'll see at least one or two of those freshmen out there starting on Friday, and let's see if they can kind of get their legs under them and show that they were rated highly for a reason.
Jacob Padilla with us, Hail Varsity. Jacob, awesome stuff. Thanks for jumping on today, bud.
Yeah, anytime.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow. We're here at Madonna Proactive, 56th and Pine Lake in Lincoln. It is game week as Nebraska heads off to Illinois. We bring in the coach, long time at Iowa and, of course, at Nebraska, defensive lineman Rick Kaczenski with us. Kaz, what do you know? It's game week. How you feeling?
Hi, feeling real good, man. Thanks for having me on, Schmidt. Just good to be in game week 0. So looking forward to Saturday. So feeling pretty good about it as the game gets closer. Feeling pretty good about the staff and the team, and going into Champaign.
Man, should be a lot of fun, Kaz, and interested to get your take on last week real quick. Just your view, your years in coaching. What do you make of the NCAA investigation in Lincoln, specifically what's being investigated, the assistants, or I should say the analysts, and then the idea that there may have been some question about the workouts?
Yeah, a couple ways I look at it. Obviously, you never want anything with the NCAA to come on, especially at this time of the season. The timing is, I have some questions with the timing, because obviously when the NCAA, when somebody files something or gives a complaint, this thing started a long time ago. Just the timing of it before the season. I got to question that. But I think with the veteran team and the staff being in there in their 4 years, I think they did a good job of not making that a distraction. And I think Trev did a really good job making it, coming out, saying what it is, here it is, and then moving forward. And the most important thing, Schmidt, you win football games, nobody's going to care. The NCAA, they don't have a whole lot of teeth right now. If you are going to get in trouble for something, hey, get in trouble for coaching your kids up. So obviously you got to follow the rules, but it's an investigation right now. I don't think anybody's guilty. I think the good thing about it is that it hasn't been a distraction. Came up that day in the media, story here and there, but I think they got back on focus, got back to practice, got back to camp, getting ready for the season. So I don't, to me as an outsider, and I guess a guy on the inside, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I don't have any consequences, and I don't know a whole lot about the investigation except what's been said. But those things happen all the time. It's unfortunate. You don't like it, but I can't imagine a whole lot coming out of it.
Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow here at Madonna Proactive. As we get ready for Nebraska and Illinois, we pack up Thursday for Champaign, live shows Friday and Saturday for the Nebraska-Illinois matchup. Kaz, as we turn to game week, and I'd love to get your keys, as we'll deem this Kaz's keys here. What needs to happen on the offensive side? We'll start there. As you were a high-level center at Notre Dame, you know what the importance is with the offensive line and what kind of tone that can set here. As you look at this, what is in Nebraska's best interest offensively here Saturday?
Well, first and foremost, I think you can't make too much. Obviously, you want to win the football game. And Nebraska should win the football game. But if something happens, it's not the end of the season. You want to go in it always you're trying to win them all. The staff, everybody wants to win them all, tries to win them all. But you can't lose sight that it's a long season. So I'll end that there. But what you want to see them, you want them to control and dictate the tempo of the game to Illinois. Illinois, they got a great offensive line coming back. they got a quarterback that's a game manager. I don't know if that's a compliment for a quarterback. I guess that's just the way, the guy, he's a guy that they're probably not anticipating a lot of mistakes, but he's not a dynamic guy. He's not going to kill you with his arm. He's not going to kill you with his legs. So what you want to do, though, is not allow Illinois to get the ball. So, get first downs and punt. You don't have to score every drive. You want to get a couple first downs here and there. Don't give up on the 2-yard runs, the gain of zeros, the gain of ones. Just keep plugging. Eventually, Illinois, where they don't have a whole lot of depth, is on the defensive line. When you look at their defense a year ago, they got a lot of guys back, but a lot of those guys were on a 120th ranked total defense. So, what you want to do, you want to pound on those guys. You want to wear on that. The only way you can do that is to sustain some drives. You don't have to sustain them for, 8-9 minutes. What you want to do, you want to get a first down and punt if you have to. What you don't want to do is give Illinois a short field, turn the ball over on something stupid, getting minus yardage plays. So just control that tempo. A gain of 0 is not bad. A -2, that puts you behind the 8 ball. So what you want to see is Nebraska's offense dictate the tempo of the game. And just like the black shirts and just like the pipe, that's where the game's going to be. It's going to be won. That's what Illinois wants to do to Nebraska defensively, and that's what Nebraska is going to want to do to Illinois. If you keep the offense, you keep the opponent's offense off the field, they can't score points. If you give them a long field to drive, there's a really good chance they're going to make a mistake and open the door for you. So you punt the football and get first downs.
Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Kaz's keys here, and I think you're right on, Kaz, with the body blows. Turn this into a game of attrition here when it comes to the fourth quarter. And, by all accounts, Coach, that's Nebraska. I know Illinois has got a lot of guys back, but you nailed it, man. The defensive line isn't as flush, so to speak, with bodies. And you just keep hammering that football, don't you, with some power run and maybe mix in a little quarterback run. That's one question I have for you. Would you have Adrian at a pitch count this first week?
I think it's really difficult to go into a game with a pitch count per se, especially for a quarterback. What you want to do, and Illinois knows this, and Coach Frost knows this. What you want, he's always going to be a threat with his legs, and being on the other side of the ball, being a defensive coach, man, that is hard to prepare. When you got to prepare for a team that wants to run the ball, between the tackles, but then you also have to defend the quarterback's legs. That makes it really, really difficult, and sometimes you have the tendency to sit on your heels. So anytime you can give offense, a defense, more to think about, more to defend, you're gonna have an opportunity to move the ball. You're gonna have an opportunity for that 2-yard gain to maybe go for 6 and 8, and by the fourth quarter, they're going for 10 and 12, and you're just wearing. So I think you got to go off the rhythm of the game. You can't give up. You can't give up on those 1-2-yard football games, because what people never, when you're talking about a rhythm of the football game, most of the people are talking about the quarterback and the running back. It's also true for the offensive line. They got to get their hit. They got to get their batting practice in too. You're going to figure out a guy's leverage. You're going to figure out how a defensive lineman is playing. You're going to figure out how a backer's scraping or how a guy's coming downhill. So it's getting in that rhythm for the offensive lineman also that is key. And the only way you can do that is by just keep pounding, running them same plays. When you look at successful football teams, especially offensive football teams, they're running the same plays. They're just making it look different with some garnishing with the tight ends, the wing backs, the tailbacks, the fullbacks. They're just moving the same people around. When you can get them big guys to do the same thing on every play and move everybody else around, that's when it gets really, really difficult to defend. So I think obviously it's important for a quarterback and a running back to get into rhythm, but I think where Nebraska's at and what Nebraska what they want to establish, what they're going to try to establish, you got to get those offensive linemen in rhythm. And, that's really difficult when, you're throwing on first down and then it's 2nd and 12 or 2nd and 10, and then you're running a draw, then it's 3rd and 7, and now you got guys teeing off on you. It's hard to get in a rhythm, and that's why I think it's real important. Line up, hand the ball off, get 3 yards, get 4 yards, Then you get in them short yardage situations. You get a first down. If you don't, you punt. But it's those body blows. It's that repetitive, those repetitive punches that eventually, when you get to the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter against a defense that's not very strong, that's where your running back takes over. And that's where your play action comes. That's when you put more pressure on the secondary, on the defensive quarter to get more guys closer to the football. And that's when big plays happen.
Is that hard for an OC or an offense in general to be patient? I know it's game one, but is it hard to not try and go up top, stay the course, be patient, take the 2 and 3 yard gains?
I don't think it's difficult because, with the way your offense is set up, and I think, with the way they've been talking about coming out of camp and coming downhill and what they want to do and using those tight ends, your run game sets up those big plays. Those 2-man routes, those post digs, and you're gonna pick your spots. So I don't think it's difficult to be patient doing that. What you don't want to do is give them a short field. I think the successful coordinators that I've been around and the head coaches, that's all. Just make their offense, make the opponent's offense have to drive the field, and then it's up to our defense to force them into mistakes. All right. So what you want to avoid is one, time of possession, and when you're throwing the ball 3 snaps in a row, your defense isn't getting a very big break, right? No time's coming off the clock, and now your offense is back on the sideline, obviously. But Schmidt, I think, when you have a veteran offensive line and you have a veteran quarterback, I think it allows those coordinators to be patient. I think when you have a young team that you really don't know a whole lot about yet, I think that's when coordinators get impatient because you're just trying to see what's going to work. But I think where Nebraska's at, with their veterans, with their quarterback, with their offensive line, I can see them being extremely patient in Champaign on Saturday with trying to pound that ball.
A few more minutes with Kaz here, live at Madonna Proactive, 56th and Pine Lake. More with Kaz on Hail Varsity.
He's in his 30s, but sounds like he was born with a stogie in one hand and a brew in the other.
Now, say my name.
It's Schmidt on Hail Varsity Radio.
I got the body of a taut, preteen Swedish boy.
Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, let's flip it over to defense. And you mentioned Peters as a manager. He has a good arm, but he's not been asked to go win it. But more so, don't lose it, son. Interested in your thoughts here. What's Nebraska's game plan defensively? Is it as simple as just snuff out the run? Illini got a couple of good backs.
Oh, absolutely. You just can't. Same thing. You can't get them going. The same thing that Nebraska's trying to do offensively. No matter how deep you are, if people are moving the ball on you, you're going to get tired as a defense, especially a D lineman. And then if they're running the football, then Chin's got to get more guys closer to the football, and then you're starting to play more man coverage, and then you're starting to pressure more. And that's when big plays. When you're not dictating when you pressure, when the offense is dictating to you, that's when big things happen. So I think Nebraska just gang tackle, keeping the ball inside in front, and just avoid those big plays. But once again, you can't worry about the 3-yard gain here, the 4-yard gain. But you got to get off the field. You got to get off the field, obviously on third downs, but. What I always told the defensive line, you win third down on first down. A majority, about 65% of the time, you're winning the third down. What happens on third down was dictated by what you did on first down. So I think just making allowing, how do I want to say this, Schmidt? I think just making that quarterback have to make plays with his arms, and you're gonna, and Nebraska can do that by winning first and second down. So like I said, he's a guy that's got a lot of experience, but I guarantee Brett's saying the same thing right now. Don't turn the ball over, check down, throw it away, we'll punt and go play defense. And I think Nebraska has a veteran front. I think they're going to be hard to run on. I really do. If you can play too high safety and play zone coverage a lot and stop in the run with really, half or a full guy short, and you got a chance to do some things. You got a chance to dial up some pressures when you want, and that's a pretty good indicator that you got an opportunity to win the football game and that you're controlling the line of scrimmage.
Kaz, there's been a lot of talk this camp about more four-man fronts. I know you're a 4-3 guy, and do you expect to see more for front versus the odd front on Saturday?
I'm not quite sure. Schmidt, I haven't been following that close, just camp, what actually they've been doing. But I think when you look at their personnel, how do you get your best players on the field? How do you get your most dynamic players on the field? And how do you get your most dynamic athletes to rush the quarterback? I think the one thing that Nebraska has lacked over the years and what everybody's looking for, it's not a mystery, they're looking for a guy that can rush the passer. And I think in those outside linebackers, they got a few of those guys. And when you can set a protection versus a 3-man front and a 4-man front, it's a completely different ball game. As an offensive lineman, give me a 3-man front all day long. All day long. You're just pounding sand. You're going to get you're basically getting 2 double teams, and you're opening up not only scramble windows, but you're opening up throwing windows. I just like the 4-3 stuff, especially in the pass game, and I think you're going to see that with Nebraska because their best athletes are their linebackers, and I think getting that 4th guy into the mix and then moving their 5 technique inside and getting a mismatch, a little bit more athletic guy on Illinois' guards in center. I think, like I said, I'm just hedging that you're probably going to see a little bit of that on Saturday. I'm a 4-3 guy just because that's what I know. I know a little bit of about 3-4 just to be dangerous. But I'm a 4-3 guy, and I just like the 4-3. It just puts more pressure on those offensive linemen. And you're going to get a few more individual blocks based on what you're doing front-wise.
Rick Kaczenski's with us. Kaz's Keys, Hail Varsity Radio here at Madonna Proactive, a Tuesday road show. Kaz, want to switch gears to this alliance that was announced here. Nothing signed between the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and ACC commissioner. The thought here is a scheduling alliance. Now, would you be in favor, Kaz, put your commissioner hat on for a moment, would you be in favor of dropping a 9th Big Ten game to accommodate one ACC opponent, one Pac-12 opponent, and then keeping the option and opportunity open for another maybe Power 5 or good G5 opponent like a Cincinnati? How would you juggle the scheduling here moving forward?
Oh man, that's tough. I'm the one thing I don't like about it is the West Coast, right? If you look at historically, teams from the East Coast, teams from the Midwest, it's a struggle heading out that way, and I think vice versa, for the Pac teams. But that would be my only hang up, Schmitty, is just the historically. Mm-hmm. The Big Ten has not performed well on the West Coast, especially during the regular season. But I think with where we're at in this day and age with college football, I think that's the only way that the Pac and the Big 12 can survive is with this alliance. But the good thing, I think you're going to see some great matchups. If that's the case, if that's the case, I think you're going to see some unbelievable matchups. I would love to see some of these Big Ten teams or some of these ACC teams, especially a Florida State or something, come to Madison, Wisconsin, or Lincoln, Nebraska, or Iowa City in November. All right, let's see what that's like, instead of playing those early games always, those warm weather teams in warm weather. Come on up in a snowstorm with the wind blowing 38 miles an hour and, try to throw the football around the field. So I think what I like about it is the fact that they're just being proactive in a way to keep some semblance of all the conferences with an identity. I think when you look at the SEC right now, yeah, it's the SEC, but the SEC is losing a little, it's kind of like, hey, is this a national conference? Where I think what you did with those three conferences, the conferences are able to keep their identity and then just play some different opponents from the other leagues. That's the way I'm looking at it. I just don't view the SEC in the same light was adding Texas and Oklahoma. I think that changes the conference of the SEC, where you still have the brands in the other three conferences, and you just don't lose that league, that conference feel with that alliance. So I haven't heard a whole lot about it. I know it just happened today, but I think it's a good thing for all three conferences.
It's better than just starting to make phone calls and rating, and then you have another league or two perhaps turning into what's left of the Big 12, right? So at least if you've got an alliance here, that's at least keeping everybody around. And, oh, by the way, when it comes to voting and diplomacy here with moving forward with this playoff, you have three Power 5 leagues talking and hopefully on the same page, and then there's the SEC, so at least your numbers are a little bit better. You'll have 60%, 41 teams, chancellors, presidents, and ADs.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at HailVarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, and you have a pretty good opportunity to set yourself up. Big Ten anyway with the playoff team, but now the Pac-12. Based on what they can schedule, and you know this too, it comes down to TV money, and there's some pretty awesome matchups. Who would you have Nebraska play if you could pick anybody out of the ACC and Pac-12?
Oh man, oh gosh, obviously you want to play the other blue bloods, man. And I mean Clemson's a new blue blood, but I mean there's obviously some history. I mean, Coach Ford, every time I see him, he reminds me. He's got a picture. He shows me that picture of, from the Nebraska game. I think when they played it in the bowl game the year he won the national championship. But, I think you want your best against the best, right? And I think that's what the fans would want. And that's why I think this alignment's great. Because, quite frankly, this is what I love, too, about going to Champaign, opening up with a Big Ten team. You're going to find out. You're going to find out a lot. I've been in the Big Ten where you don't really know a whole lot about your team until week 4, week 5 because of some of the opponents that you played. So you got to come out gunning, and I think what's great about this is every single week counts. I was at a private event with Coach Beamer, and he was talking about it, and he said, one of the things he doesn't like, but what makes college football special, it's the only athletic event, it's the only sport, college football, that doesn't have a scrimmage or a pregame. Every other sport, every other league has it, and I think that's why there's so much passion for it. That's why there's so much excitement for it. I mean, you look at right now, what do we know about Nebraska right now? What do we know about Illinois? The element of surprise, the unfolding of what a team is capable of, the surprises that you're going to get. There could be a walk-on right now that nobody's talking about. That can be the next first-team All Big Ten lineman at the end of the season. So that's the great thing about college football. There's going to be some surprises. And I think, with this alignment, you're playing these opponents. And I can tell you as a player and a coach, it is human nature. You're going to take your approach is going to be different. It's It's going to be different in the off season. It's going to be different in spring ball, over the summer, and fall camp. When you open up, because there's so much riding when you open up. I know I'm contradicting myself, but when you lose a Big Ten game, when you lose a conference game, especially on your side of the division, man, it's tough. It's tough. So you don't want to lose 2 in a row. Just like in the NFL, man, you never want to lose 2 in a row, and you want to try to win that. Win that first conference game. But I think for the state of college football and the state of the Big 12 and the Pac-10, I think this is the best scenario that could have happened for those 2 leagues without changing the landscape and the makeup of the Big 10.
Rick Kaczenski's with us. Kaz will get ready next week and run you down for some more Kaz's Keys. Awesome to get your thoughts, brother. Thanks for the time today.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Man, that was an extended Kaz's Keys. We love him and good stuff, his takes. Big thank to Jacob Padilla and, of course, Mitch Sherman. Many thanks to Madonna Proactive Therapy Plus, 56th and Pine Lake. Back in studio tomorrow, then off to Champaign with a road show Thursday and Friday. Big thanks to Elijah Herbal, Chris Schmidt, and welcome in Connor Clark. Back tomorrow at 4 on Hail Varsity.